Hello. Just 1 or 2 more minutes while I kind of tidy up a small bit. You want to see dogs? I can do that. Guia, Riggins. They came in the opposite order that I called them. Also stepping on some Tindie packages at the moment. Riggins, come here. Up. Riggins wants his food, but he isn't getting it yet. My wife is due home, so she can. Oh, Arturo, you're telling me it's not great. All right, I got it cut. My wife cut it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's not her finest work, for sure. It's Riggins. Does anybody know what Riggins might be named after? Riggins is also shedding at the moment, so no fun with the huskies when they're shedding. It just gets everywhere. But yet his hair is still better than mine. It's Riggins, like the first thing you wrote, but does anybody know what it's from? These 2 dogs as well. They're doxing machines for my wife because she has their phone number on them. So you're meant to. I don't really know. You're meant to put just your number on and not the dog's name. So if somebody like takes the dog or whatever, they can't just go, oh yeah, now I know its name, so I'll know what it'll respond to. And he's off. He's like, oh, I've had enough of this. So he might lie down there, right? I don't know. Yeah, so she just has her phone number on it, and several times I've taken pictures of them for like Twitter, and somebody's like been like, hey, your wife's number is visible there, and I'm like, ah, dang. Look at him. He's like, come on, follow me. I know he doesn't need to go to the toilet, but so he wants food. This is particularly bad. But yeah, that's life. That is life. Yeah, so how's everyone doing? My YouTube studio does not seem to be working. It says I have 2 concurrent viewers, but there is at least 4 or 5 of you in chat. So that's wrong. But yeah, so apologies for the late announcement of the stream. So yesterday my wife asked me could I not stream if she went to the other house to clean up. And then earlier she was like, I'll get to it, Dave. Earlier she was like, oh no, actually I probably won't stay late this evening. And I was like, okay. So she was like, oh, stream if you want, I'll stay late tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And then no sign of her to come back. So I just I managed to get the girls to bed, and they're both asleep now. So I was like, well, okay, I might as well stream. So Riggins, there is a TV show and a movie, but the TV show is what we're used to it from, called Friday Night Lights, and there is a character in the TV show called Tim Riggins, and he's kind of a lovable bad boy or something. That is where Riggins is from. He's feckless. He'd hop up on a table and eat your food, no problem at all. Hello Albert, hello Aaron. It says 14 on the page. on that page on the floor, is it? It does have my address on it, but it's pretty far away. I should probably flip it over anyways. Yeah, it was also a book. He's kind of a husky. He's very husky-ish, anyways. I'm not a huge fan of this term to describe a dog like him, but he was a rescue dog. In terms of, like, we got him pretty much as a pup from like the ISPCA. But like, when I think of the term rescued, I'm doing almost the opposite of gatekeeping. I'm talking myself out of a rescue. Just basically, like, when I think of a rescue dog, I think of a dog who's had like tough upbringing, and you need to like mind it back to whatever, and it's a few years old or whatever. Like, he was a pup. He was like, I think he was taken from like a ferry that was about to go over to the UK. So I'm not fully up to date on like the inner workings of like the black market dog trade, but apparently a lot of dogs are bred in Ireland and brought over to the UK for sale on like Gumtree and stuff, and he was one of them. So he would have came from probably like a puppy farm or whatever, and but like, people would have been queuing up to take a husky pup, so I wouldn't really count it as rescuing. No, it's a term given to dogs who have been rescued. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. Like, say, when just before we found out my wife was pregnant, so my wife used to volunteer at the ISPCA place, and that's where she found him, basically. And there was a dog that she used to work with called Tina, and Tina was like a sheepdog, but it was super, super nervous. Like, I would describe Tina, if somebody took Tina, I would definitely describe that as a rescue dog. So we fostered her for like a month or something. So basically just brought her home, and she hung out with our two dogs, and she was starting to get kind of kind of a little bit better. She was than girls. Seems like my internet's bad. Yes, it seems like I'm having a bit of internet troubles, which is interesting. I don't know if it's my internet or my power line, but something dropped out there. Yeah, but so like, Tina was with us for about a month, and she was like super nervous. Hey, Spectre. But like, once we heard that my wife was expecting, like, Tina would not have been a suitable dog to have around kids. She was just too nervous. You wouldn't know what it was. Yeah, like, gigabit internet is only as good as how far you can distribute it, or how well you can distribute it. And I'm still on that power line adapter, so like, could be the internet that's at fault. It could be my PC. It could be the power line adapter. Could be anything. I don't know. So that's where we are. Yeah, okay. So we've talked about dogs. Riggins is the bad boy. Guia is a much better behaved dog, for sure. I'll be coming in about. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes to mess around until Mark comes and helps us helps us do everything. Yeah, so basically, if you see that door there, the closed one, I know it's very difficult to judge how far away that is, but it's maybe about 7 or 8 meters. I'm not very good at guessing, but there's another room like this then, and on the far side of that door, and then at that wall is where the garage is. So we're very far away from the garage, so like Wi-Fi is not an option. And I need to run cables, and I'll probably like run them through the floorboard, but I just need help with lifting the floorboards and putting the floorboards back again. The other dog, Guia. I can see her tail. That's her tail there. That's actually kind of where she likes to lie during the day. I'm going to type it in chat because you'll never guess that that's how it's spelled. So that's wind in Irish. Yes, crowbar. I don't even have a crowbar. So like the hardware shops only opened last week. The only thing about crowbars as well is they're very permanent in terms of like, I'm sure I could lift the floorboards, but getting them back down is also very important to me. So I'm a little bit worried about crowbarring it. So my dad is a flooring contractor. So like, does Guia like to fart a lot? No, it's more of like an Indian name, like as in runs with the wind type thing. You broke your pickaxe. Pickaxe would be the right job for this floor. Yeah, but my dad's a flooring contractor, so when things open up and he's able to come out here, could I pop it up the cavity into the loft? Possibly. I don't know. That's a rite of passage for a Geordie, is to get a crowbar and a pry bar. I don't have either of those things. Yeah, like ideally, like I'm relatively handy, but ideally I would like someone to just do this for me. Like, as in I would happily pay someone to do the right job on this. Like, or even tell me, as in, okay, you should run that up the cavity block, or this is how you should do that. And I'm like, I would really like, yeah, when things open up, they'll open up. I would really like to have this power line adapter is my biggest problem, like with my networking in the house. I also, on the power line, I have Wi-Fi access point, which ideally I would not like. Oh, we're talking crap. Working on Spotify libraries, that'll come. There'll be like hours of working on Spotify libraries. We're just talking crap at the moment. Yeah, so yeah, like as I mentioned, Wi-Fi very, very far away. So in order to have like decent Wi-Fi around the house, like that's the only place I can put it at the moment, because that's the only other network place I have. But ideally I'd put it like, out in the hall somewhere, probably hanging from the ceiling. Flexi Friend update. Let me talk about the Flexi Friend for a minute, and then we'll get to their Spotify API library. So, okay, let's quickly give an explanation what we will be working on today, and then I'll give an update on the Flexi Friend. So the Arduino Spotify API library is something that I have been working on. Working on for the last few weeks. So it is a library for any network enabled Arduinos, I guess. So this won't listen to music whatsoever, but it will connect to your Spotify account when you put your API key in it, and it will allow you to see what's being played, and it will allow you to skip songs, turn up and down the volume, and things like that. So the things that we have implemented at the moment is getting your current track playing, and then the player controls, so next, previous, and seek, so we can seek to the start of a song. Just the one. I have a big one, 4 feet long. I don't know, for the crowbar. Thank you, Arturo. Yeah, I think the Swedish people, and this is not an invite to like, hey, loads of people support me, but I think the Swedish people are like the most supportive people in super chats, because I see SEK all the time and I still have no idea what the conversion rate is. Absolutely none. Like, Arturo could have sent me €100 there. I just don't know. Like, I have no idea. Hello, Bleep Track. Hello, Rotor. Hello, Maiko. Hello, anybody else who can. Yes, so that is what we will be working on. Probably the most important next thing is the correct support of OAuth, because I'm just using temporary... I've been using temporary tokens to prove out that it's working, but really you would want to correctly support OAuth. So like they would have a token that lasts a while, because those temporary tokens only last like whatever. Like I think it's like 20 minutes. Oh, so divide by 10. Okay. Well, that's still €5. Thank you very much. Just remove the 0. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good conversion rate. But thank you, Arturo. I appreciate it. So that's probably the most important thing. I don't really know what I'm doing with this part of it just yet. And also, it'll be very difficult to work on this without like doxing myself. So I'm not 100% sure on that. But it is the most important thing. It was Sion, Dave Darko. Your stream went to 1440p. My stream health has been healthy since that blip. But other than that. Okay. Flexi friend update. Oh, wow. Thank you, Aaron. I really promise I didn't mean for people to start doing that. Wow, I honestly don't know what to say. Thank you, Aaron. Make sure you message me when the Flexi friends come out, and I'll definitely do you a very special deal on it. Wow, thank you. Okay, so Flexi friend update. I did order them. So we streamed on Monday, and I ordered them Tuesday morning. In fact, I think I think my design is possibly in Germany at the moment, because I got an email in German and from DHL. So I used JLC's Euroline or whatever it's called, and how that works is they send it to Germany, and then someone in Germany sends it to me. I think using the postal service. My last one on the Euroline came through the postal service anyways. Let me read in my best German accent. I would show it on my screen, but again, I would be doxing myself. So, DHL Sendungsben Errichtigung. Yeah. Sehr geehrter Brian Locke, Ihre Sendung ist heute am 25th of the 5th, 2020 von Weichsingwu mit der Sender-Number and the number an DHL übergeben werden. Wenn Sie sich einen Überblick über den Sendungsstatus verschaffen möchten, können Sie auf unserer Internetseite dhl.de. So blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure it's send it on. Ken, I didn't have time to change it. It was like, I created the stream at like 8:56. 56. 8:56 p.m. 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 8:56 p.m I think it's coming. It's on its way. Right. But Aaron, I think there's going to be a problem with this. The best way to the train station. I don't remember my equivalent of the GCSE German whatsoever. Ich hab's verstanden. Ich hab's kleiner verstanden. Okay, so I think there's going to be a problem. And my problem is almost completely related to Ohm's law. Right. The IP2721, which is the chip we designed around... There's my wife home, but she'll figure it out. They're good guard dogs, I guess. Do you need me to mute? How loud is it? You have a Euro DHL option for LCSC, because I didn't. Woof, woof, woof. That does look pretty like Reagan's, Arturo. Yeah, just 1 second. Sorry about that. I needed to bring in something from the car. I'm out of breath from running up the stairs. Should probably exercise or something. Food. I should have put on some elevator music. Or what's that song that they keep playing in Community? Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so IP2721. There's two elements of power delivery. You get to negotiate voltage, and you also get to negotiate amps. And the IP2721 does not negotiate the amps. It just negotiates voltage. So presumably it just asks for, hey, give me everything you got. Which is fine in scenarios that you have a powerful enough power supply. But in scenarios that you don't have a powerful enough power supply, you are potentially going to have a bad time. Yeah, so we worked it out the last that I actually measured on my TS100 the resistance of the tip, and I measured 8.3. Well, actually I measured 14.7, but then I measured just the leads on their own and I got 6.4, and the sum of that, or the was 8.3, which is pretty close to what we theoretically thought it was, which was 8.5. Right, so the TS100 has a heating element in the tip, which is how it heats up. So it's a resistive load. So it is an 8.5 ohm resistor, basically. And we're negotiating off the power supply 20 volts. So if we have to calculate how much current that it potentially needs when it's heating up, that would be V is equal to IR. So if we bring the R over to the V side, that would be 20 divided by 8.5, which means at some stages it will request 2.3 amps, or sorry, it'll be drawing 2.3 amps from the power supply. And that's fine if your power supply can provide that. But the problem is that if your power supply can't provide it, we have a problem with Ohm's law, right? That if your power supply can only provide 2 amps and the voltage is meant to be fixed at 20 volts and the resistance is fixed because that doesn't change, well, something has to give, right? So if you've a 45 watt power supply, that can only do 2.25 amps. The iron is going to be looking for 2.35. Something is going to happen, right? You just don't know. And also then, what if somebody uses a 30 watt supply? It just won't work for them, you know? Thank you, Adam. I'll take a look after this. Or maybe even now. It'll probably just not deliver 2.3 amps. It will probably consider I think the best case scenario would be that your power supply goes, hey, you're drawing too much current, I can't do that, and turns off, right? Worst case is that your power supply goes on fire. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know a huge amount about power delivery or what would happen, but you'd imagine if you have a power supply and I guess another potential thing that would happen is the voltage would start dropping, but I just don't know how that would work with power delivery, that you've requested 20 volts and then the voltage starts dropping. Fire can be used for soldering too. Does anybody know what would happen if a 2 amp supply is the voltage drops is normally what happens when you start going to the max or you start drawing more current than you should from a power supply. So it won't just stay at the lower amp, no, because it has to adhere to Ohm's law. The resistance is fixed. The voltage will probably drop. Yeah. That could potentially happen too, I guess. But I just don't know. Yeah, either the thing will turn off or the voltage will probably drop. Or maybe it'll burn out. They're all things that could happen. But anyways, so I explained that the IP2721 had a thing where it would, if it's a transformer, then at one point the wire will start to glow. Yeah, probably. I was saying that if I plugged it into a power supply that couldn't provide 20 volts, the IP2721 would request 15 volts. So it'd go, hey, give me 20 volts. And the power supply goes, no, I can't do that. The best I can do is 15. The IP2721 would be like, okay, cool. 15 is fine with me. And then in that scenario, if it's a 15 volt supply, so again 15 divided by 8.5, then it only needs to provide like 1.76 amps if it's at 15 volts. So like ideally, if it's a 45 watt supply, it would not take the 20 volts and it would take the 15 instead. And it's the same with a 30 watt supply. Like if you have a 30 watt supply, that's 2 amps of 15 volts. It should also take this. So I'm thinking that the IP2721 is not the right choice for it. And I've ordered it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to test, does it work? And if you have a decent enough power supply, so if you have a 60 watt or bigger power delivery power supply, it will work fine. It'll, like you saw me soldering with it the last day, like it was 100%, not a problem. Yeah, you don't want to burn your wooden floors. So if you saw I was asking questions about the FLIR stuff for a thermal camera on Twitter, that's some of this stuff is the reason why. Like I'm just wondering about like, well, what's getting hot, what's not, or whatever. So since the last stream, I have figured that I think the thing I want to get is the ST USB 4500. I think is the chip that I want to use now instead, because you can program into it the current as well, right? So you can say, like, if you can't give me 20 volts at 2.4 amps, then the 20 volts is off the table, and try give me 15 volts at 1.8 amps. And if you can't do that, drop down to 12 volts. And if you can't give me that, just don't even bother. Is it pricey? It is more expensive, but it's not prohibitively expensive. It is, so the IP2721 was like 60 cents each. This is $2 each. So it's twice as expensive, but it should, rule of thumb, if you don't leave skin behind, it's fine. It's twice as expensive, but like as a product, this would be a much better product. It will be a new board design. I'll get onto what that'll mean, but like the problem with the IP2721 is, so I can send it, like, as in if it works, the design we had, I can ship it to people, and I have to be like, make sure you do not use a power delivery supply smaller than 60 watts, or it's just not going to work, or it could break your supply, or, you know, it's just not a good story. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, like, you want your product to be idiot proof, right? Yeah, there'll be a flexi. So, like, I'm kind of wondering if the flexi friend works. Like, if you have a 60 watt supply, it's perfectly fine. But then do you make one with this chip that's like the flexi friend pro? Like, it's a bad, yeah, like Arturo is right. It's a bad user experience if there's a possibility that if they plug it into the wrong thing, it just doesn't work, or, you know, breaks something, or so it's bad, right? So we'll see how that thing comes, and I'll build it and I'll see does it work, and maybe if there's people interested in the IP2721 one, we can do it. But I think going forward, I will be like, if this works out, this is what I'll be doing with it. GN, am I software or hardware biased? No, like, this might sound corny, but like I'm kind of like product biased. I don't really care if it's on the hardware side or the software side. I like things to be as simple and flexible as possible. Like, I think, like, the reason I was so gung-ho on the IP2721 was because it didn't need to be programmed. That was appealing to me because it simplified the assembly of the product. This will need to be programmed. It's programmed using I2C, so I'll have to break out some pads and I'll have to build some form of a jig or something that I drop each board into, and I flash the profile to say, like, this is the TS100 power profile, basically. So, like, it'll increase the price a small bit, including the increased cost of the chip. But, you know, from a support point of view, it's much better. Right, so where do they have it here? Tools and software. Yeah, I don't know where I actually got it, but this STB. So what I'm doing with this is this STB USB 500 has an evaluation board, which is this Stevel. No, it's not that one. That's really expensive. Maybe it's not called an evaluation. Oh, it's a reference board, is it? Reference. I spelled reference wrong, but it's fine. I can't find it. It's this one. Yeah, I don't know why I'm finding this so hard to find. But yeah, so this evaluation board, whatever it's called, I'm after ordering one of them. Did I misunderstand something with Ohm's law, GN? I don't know. It seemed like I'd like to know if I said something wrong, but it seems to be that it's kind of like I said something wrong with it. Yeah, so this is a reference board, so it's basically like same thing as we looked at last week. USB-C in, it should negotiate whatever it needs to negotiate, and then I guess it should have pads for programming it, although I don't see those pads, so that's a little bit worrying. That's fine. No thanks. So I've ordered one of those, and when it arrives, we'll test out to see if this is the chip that we need, and if it is, then we're good. The other thing that I have ordered, thank you, Arturo. The other thing that I've ordered is I've ordered 3 new power supplies. Yeah, oh, it doesn't seem to have the pads to reprogram it, so I might have to solder little tiny jumpers or something. Maybe there's pads on the bottom. I don't see anything up the top anyways. So the other thing I've ordered is 3 new power supplies, all under spec for the IP2721. A 45 watt battery bank, so that should be under spec. 30 watt like wall charger. That can deliver 20 volts, and it should be under spec too, because it can deliver 1.5 amps at 20 volts, but we want it to deliver the 15 instead. And then I think I ordered like an 18 watt one as well, so that should be even under spec at 15 volts. So yeah, it's got the okay, cool, it has the I2C test points, so I should be able to program that. So I think that, like, what we should do is get this in. We can hook it up to the TS100 the same way I did the last time, and we should test out the profiles part, because if the profiles part doesn't work, then we're no better off than we were with the IP2721, but I have no reason to doubt that this won't work. And what else is nice about this is you have this design like, and the BOM and everything available to you. Yeah, so the Authorization uses the ST USB 45,000, or 4500, I guess it would be called. And I guess he probably has the same thing with the profiles. He probably is programmed in the correct profiles. Like, honestly, I was a little bit hesitant to look too far into what the Authorization does. Mainly because, like, this is already, like, inspired basically by what the Authorization does, that I didn't want to just copy everything that Jan did. Like, as in, I didn't want to just take, like, part of Jan's design and just, like, put it out into an external module and then go, look at the product I made, guys. Aren't I great? So, like, it seems like I've ended up at the same place as him. But I guess last week's stream is proof that like I had a journey to get there rather than just copying it. So yeah. So that was the crack. I was hoping to use something different than Jan did, but it looks like I've ended up there. So yeah. So that's it for the Flexi Friend. So I've ordered one of these from Farnell. I'd expect it here this week maybe. So next week's stream we could test out that it works, and if it works we can start building it. The Authorization is complete new guts for the TS100. So, like, the Authorization isn't a product, I would say. It's a project. Although I think he does have plans to, like, sell fully assembled ones. Or at least he was thinking about it. But, like, I think at its current state, like, you can buy the PCBs off him, but then you have to go buy the BOM and assemble it. And, like, it's, you know, as I mentioned, it is a product, or project, not a product. Yeah, like, I have an Authorization PCB here as well. When I got it, I was like, oh, I am petrified of trying to assemble this. I would need more than 1.5 amps at 15 volts. So basically the calculation of what I'd need is take 8.5, or sorry, take your voltage, so 15 volts, and divide it by 8.5. And that's the amps you need. So if it's 12 volts, I did that wrong. Oops, 12 divided by 8.5. So it's 1.5 amps basically for 12 volts. Yeah, so basically you need 1.5 at 12 volts, 1.8 at 15 volts, and 2.4 at 20 volts. So if you can satisfy those, you should be good. They would be our three profiles. And if it fails to negotiate any of those things, you just... No, thank you. I can't do anything else. So I bought 3 power supplies, all under spec. I also bought another TS100 because I'm going to be plugging a lot of different things into it, and I am worried that I'll break one. And it is my... it does have 3 pre-configured. I think they're under spec, because I think the 20 volt one is only looking for 1.5 amps or something. I can't remember though. But yeah, I will now have another TS100 that if I break one, I still have my soldering iron, because that is my main soldering iron. And also it will allow me to play around with the custom firmware. I have a second soldering iron, Maiko. I just don't have a second TS100. Although we should now. I bought it on AliExpress, but shipped from Germany. So we'll see how that works out. I think it was like $45 or something. Okay. Right. Let us go back to Arduino Spotify. So correct support of OAuth. I guess that is probably the next thing we should do. But I guess what else can we do? We need to do the OAuth part of it. Web API libraries. Example app code, one for each of our authorization flows. Okay, so what is the authorization flow that we need to do? Have the end user approve your app for access to their Spotify data. You need to authorize your application. You can authorize Spotify in two ways. App authorization. Spotify authorizes your app to access the Spotify platform. User authorization. Spotify, as well as the user, grant your app permission to access or modify the user's own data. So we probably will need to do the second one. We will probably need to use the second one because we need to see what's playing for the user themselves, plus, skipping their songs and stuff. So that would all be done on this. Calls to the Spotify web API require authorization by your application user. Maybe this is what we need to look at. To get the authorization, your application generates a call to the Spotify account service /authorize endpoint, passing along a list of scopes for which access permission is sought. Okay. So making authorization requests. So it's a get to this login by the looks of things. No, sorry, that's their login. So it does a redirect to accounts.spotify authorize. It passes in a client ID and then the different scopes that it needs. And then a redirect URI. So I guess we'll have to redirect to the ESP, I guess, to attain authorization, register your application. Implicit grant. This is fun. Implicit grant is a flow for clients that are implemented entirely using JavaScript and running on the resource owner's browser. So that is not our case. So application requests authorization, access display, scope, and prompt user to log in if required. Log in, authorize access. Refresh access and refresh tokens, return access. So this is going to be fun. Access token gets refreshed. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, David's video is very pretty, isn't it? I didn't watch it all yet, but it was nice. Have your application request authorization. The user logs in, authorize access. This is probably what we need. So client ID, yeah, okay, so we get that. Response type is set to code. So seems to just be response type equals code, okay. And then the redirect is to somewhere. So the user is asked to authorize with the scopes. Spotify account service presents details of the scopes, blah, blah, blah. The user is redirected back to your specified URI after the user accepts or denies the request. The Spotify account service redirects the user back to your, will have the code in it. Okay. Okay, so we'll need to set up there's an OAuth library. The only one I saw before seemed to not be generic. The other thing as well is it doesn't really need to run on. It doesn't really need to run on the ESP. Like, you know, like would you be better off writing this part in Python? Like, or something, where like you just here open this, like run this script and you get a token that you put into your sketch out at the end of it. Because I think, like, realistically, you would probably have to kind of run something on this. Like, you'd probably have to run a sketch on this and then run like you get your token back and then you do whatever, like, as in, do you know what, it doesn't actually really matter if we have a web page on the ESP, right? Because if you think about it, I guess you could be giving away your, like, if you just put in localhost, right? If they come back and say, okay, we've redirected you to this URL, right? And you just put in localhost instead of example.com, right? Wouldn't it just, it would redirect you to localhost and it would fail because you don't have a server running. But the code would still be up here, right? Like, you could just grab it from the URL, right? So I guess you don't even need to host something. I guess maybe it'd be a little bit cleaner to host it. You'll need to refresh the token in a certain time. I wonder how long the tokens last. So there's 3 different types. There is have your application request authorization. The user logs in and authorizes access. And you get a code back. And then number 2, have your application request refresh and access tokens. Okay, when the authorization code has been received, you will need to exchange it. Okay, so this is the same as you make a post request. Authorization code. Okay, so I remember doing this for the Twitter API. So an alternative way to send the client ID and secret is as requested in the post body instead of sending them base64 in the header. with a URL that includes the IP of the ESP32 instead of localhost. Have a hosted page on the ESP. So we host a web page on the ESP. And it will with a URL that includes the IP of the ESP32. Yeah, I guess. And then it would redirect. Yeah, if you hosted it and it was a URL that you clicked on that web page, so it redirects back to the ESP URL. So that only gives us the, like, what they're calling a code. So that would get us to this stage. Then you have to request an access token using the client ID, the client secret, and the code. Is it? No, that's request access. Yeah, no, that would get us to this stage. Then you have to return access and refresh tokens, and then we have what we need. So I guess you're right that they'll probably expire at some stage. How long do they last? Expires in. So 3,600 seconds. So what's that, a day? So we would have to update. We'd have to make this authorization thing a couple of times, probably. Okay, so if we host a web page on the ESP, we can start there. And we'll make your application sends a request to Spotify service. Client ID, response type, redirect URI. Okay, so this is what we need to do. $36 seconds. Oh, it's only an hour. Yeah. Yeah, so we need to provide a way for the user to get this authorization, or the original token, this one, the one that comes back when this is called. And then once they have that in that thing, we can provide a method to to wrap the requests. We can provide a method to refresh the tokens. So we can have a thing, Spotify.refresh token, and we could include it basically that if we get an unauthorized, which is a 403 back, you try refresh the token. Okay, so we would try refresh the access token, not the refresh token. So the refresh token is the first step. So if this first one here, this is where we get our, what Spotify call a code back. Right, where is the... Yeah, what Spotify are calling a code. That will not expire. That is what we will use along with a couple of other things to refresh the tokens. Okay, so let's start programming something. Bjorn, you're probably right. I think I've enough of an idea what to do that we can start. Thank you, Diego. I didn't really do a whole lot for that video other than use somebody else's code. So the Arduino OAuth library, it depends on HTTP client and Arduino bare SSL. So I get Twitter status. You see, I don't like relying on a lot of external libraries. Yeah, you don't have to do a whole lot, but yeah, make an OAuth client. You're passing in the SSL, like. I don't know, is it stupid to recreate one that doesn't use all the stuff? Look, might be stupid, but let's start doing something. Okay. So I think the first thing we'll need is just a web server that. So I'll just start as an like in the Arduino IDE at the moment, and we'll move to hello server. Right. Maybe I should actually do the advanced one. Because I need to put in a URL. Yeah, okay. So let's make sure that this is running okay. Do I care about my SSID and password? I really need to set up a guest Wi-Fi network for these. Maybe I can set one up right now. If this works right now, it's only OAuth 1. Oh no. This will be magical. Which is my... That's this one. Connect. I am using D1 Mini. I can't remember where to configure this. Oh, here we are. SSID. Security, authentication type. I'll do this some other time. Right. Do I have enough data? Or I have enough battery on my phone? Yes. Let us make a hotspot that is my... Oh, no, do you know what? You can just see it. I don't care. Yeah, that's possible, for sure. like I guess even I have some of this stuff done with the Twitter one. Let me go back to my screen share. Like if I go look at my Twitter, Arduino Twitter library. So I wrote this a long time ago, three years ago. So setting bearer token in Sketch. Normally we would use these to generate the bearer token, but it's not working yet. Use steps in README to get bearer token. So what did I do to do that? Oops, too far back. To get the bearer token, so I was making them do curls. With the client credentials using the key and the secret. But okay, so Spotify have an extra step on top of this. So we still need to do this part of it. But we also need to include this code part. So I can't use the same thing. But yeah. Yeah, I think this will be okay. We're gonna just try out a web page. We'll do the advanced web server. I'm going to change my password after this, I promise. There's my super secure password. Okay, so let's make a URL now, which is like this. Do I want to? Wrong one. Right, it's been a while since I wrote it's been a while since I wrote some HTML. What do I want to do this as? Link. Hyperlink is a yes, a tag. Let's get rid of this image because I don't care what it is. So it's an a tag with href equals blah 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 blah. I'm just gonna paste this in here, which is massive. Okay, so we need to actually put in my client ID. Escape that too. Client ID needs to come from somewhere. And then the callback URL, which we're going to make my ESP's IP address. So that's my href tag. I guess I won't make it anything. I won't make it anything. Spotify auth. So for the moment, to make my life a little bit easier, I can do ESP8266.local and it should, if MDNS is enabled, yep, it should just work with that. But I do need to, thank you, Johnny. I had moved away to the other tab for a moment. I do need to put in my client ID. So let's get that. That is going to be public, right? So, well, I guess people will have to make their own client because I have to have my own secret, right? Presume it's the console that I need to look at. I can't show you my, oh, it's dashboard probably. And I'm not logged in. Okay, I'm logged in now. Okay, client ID. So I logged into dashboard and I have a client ID down here. So I'm just going to grab that. I'm also asking for some weird scopes, user read private. I have to actually figure out what scopes we need, but I'm not too worried about that just now. If I get end to end working, I'll be happy enough. Okay, so then there is also this, sorry for that whistle, state thing that I don't know what that is. So let's look at that. So client ID, we have response type required, redirect required. State is optional but strongly recommended. The state can be useful for correlating requests and responses. Because your redirect URI can be guessed, using a state value can increase your assurance that an incoming connection is the result of an authentication request. If you generate a random string. So I don't think I need this. The reason I don't think I need this is because it should never, your, hey DefPan, your ESP should not be public facing, right? So, you know, they're talking about people could guess it, but like, you know, that's if I was running this on brianlock.com, right? Like, you don't need that here, because if I was running it on brianlock.com, you could try fake authorization callback URLs, but it's not important here because the ESP will never be public facing. So the only people who would be able to make requests to it are inside your network. And now all of you can be inside my network if you find my house because you have my password. But for now, but I'll change it. That will become my guest network. Yeah, I don't think it's needed, Gavin. Like, as in, we can just make it smaller. And also, the ESP.get chip ID will work for the ESP, but mightn't work for other things. So, I'm just going to get rid of the state thing. What was that? State. Yeah, I'm just going to remove it. Okay. It's quite difficult to work with now that it's moved over there. Right, should I be able to just move it to a new line? Maybe. I don't know. It should be, because the HTML should still parse, but I don't know. I think it'll be fine to do this. So I'll just save this. Why is it letting me save this? Where is it saving it to? Let me override the examples or something. What happened there? That's weird. It's fine. So I'm just gonna save it as code and then auth test Spotify. Okay, so if we go to board, I don't have anything plugged in at the moment, so that would be a good start. Where is my D1 Mini? I had one earlier. Yeah, it was. I had the example open, so I don't know what happened exactly, but so I'm actually. This should work for us, um, because I'm going back to the ESP using an endpoint called callback, which won't exist. So we'll go to handle not found, and it'll do file not found, and it actually dumps the arguments to the it'll dump the arguments to back to you. Well, that's not what we want. We actually wanted to log that, right? Serial dot print, and we'll print message. I guess it'll probably also bring us there and just show up a 404, but this will do as well. Okay, so I am going to tools. I actually was programming an Arduino Nano earlier. We got our D1 Mini selected. We go back into port, so all good. So let's click upload and see what happens. Yes, Gavin, I like the idea of extracting out some stuff. Okay, so it's complaining about a terminating character. I think I just need to put in a slash at the end of this. I think, is that just like escaping the new line character or something? I don't know what exactly that's doing, but seeing as all the rest of them have slashes. Ideally, I would like to move to the string literal way of doing it. Oops. So many oopses. I was obviously editing this example earlier. Yeah, I'd like to move to the string literal way, but this'll do for the moment. So anybody from the UK here? Gavin, how was your bank holiday weekend? And PsyQ, I didn't see you come in. Hello. Okay, so it's done uploading. Should be able to. Will you be able to do anything with the code? Not really, because you'd have to authorize as me. No, I'm going to be authorizing as me. Okay, let's see how we get on here. So if I go to esp.local, where is my... Oh, this is auto-refreshing or something. How is that uptime getting updated? Where's my button? How is it doing that? Has uptime here, and then there's whatever this is. It's passing in the uptime, but what's making it restart? Or refresh? Oh, refresh contents up the top here. I don't want to do that. I can probably just take out that meta tag. Still don't know why my A tag wasn't showing up though. Is it badly formed? href. Uh, yes. She's the is the right word vitriol or like hate on Twitter and like all these UK threads at the moment is really bad. Like yeah, that whole situation is completely messed up. I'm escaping the first one. I have to escape that one, don't I? Because this is part of the HTML string. And then I'm closing my thing. And then, yeah, like, I don't know why that shouldn't be there. But if it's not there, it's obviously considered malformed. Maybe I just can't have an A tag floating here. Maybe I need to put it in a div or something. It didn't seem to be showing up in the slash div. Oops. But what an excuse, though. The visiting the castle thing, like that that is just nuts. In some ways, like it's terrible, but like you kind of have to laugh. Like, isn't you had like 3 or 4 days? That was the best excuse you could come up with. It is nuts. Ireland had some really good news today. It was the first day since March the 23rd, I believe, where nobody died from coronavirus. So, and cases were pretty low as well. So it was a good news story today in Ireland. We have started to open up since last week, and like I have noticed a huge amount of extra people around, but we'll see how it gets on. Hopefully it does okay. What am I doing here? Okay. Going back to this, my ESP. So it's still not there. Okay, at least I have a div this time. Okay, so there must be something very wrong with my div because it doesn't even... or my link, because it doesn't stay there. The character encoding was not declared. The document will render with garbled text. Size is only 400 bytes. I don't know. Okay, so there has to be something wrong with my with how I'm writing out this. So A tag href equals second parameter of sprint f. Oh. Ah. Yeah, that does seem a bit small, doesn't it? I don't know if that's my problem, but it definitely couldn't hurt to be bigger. This is why I would... Maybe I should just move to string literal now. I also don't need this uptime too, so I don't need to be generating this page every time. Still got nothing in my div. Whatever's going on. So it's given out about the character encoding. Right. Let's move to the string literal way, because I prefer that anyways. Okay, so let's go to here. We'll go to, I don't know what's the easiest way to find this now, but I have an example of a string literal taking somewhere. Hey, Acrobatic, how's it going? Let's have a quick browse through my GitHub. What am I? Simple Wi-Fi controlled or C-car. This is what I want. So here is a web page. Oh, I'm missing that char set. This is way more complicated than I need it to be, so I'm gonna cut out a ton of this stuff. It also doesn't need to be in its own page. So the string literal thing is basically this set of characters here. Can I just see the code again? Yeah, sure. How about, will this copy if I put it into the? No, it's too long. It's too long of a comment. So ahref, like, I don't know, it seems okay to me. Yes, it's not great. It's particularly bad today, I think. Like, I didn't put any gel in it after a shower, so it's just fluffy. Yeah. Right, so I can keep that. I don't care. I can keep that. I don't need style sheets. Body, I can get rid of basically all the body. I don't need any script tags. This thing is a string literal. So basically anything between here and here is considered as a literal string. The end of the URL is, yeah, so I have to put in the backslash to escape the double quotes, because the double quotes needs to be in my string, but I also need it to not end my string, because the whole thing should be in quotes, but here's the start of the quote up there, so that was what that was for. But we're trying to get around all of this by using the string literal thing instead. So we should just be able to grab this. I'm going to show it up here. We don't need to escape it anymore. Oh wait, are A tags slashed at the end? They are. Am I slashing it the right way? I am. Yeah, I don't know. It looks right to me. But I don't know. We can get rid of this class, although it doesn't really matter because it just won't do anything if it doesn't find a class. Now I need to let this equal something. And I forget what that is. I think it's a char star. Const char star. So we're doing const char star is equal to that, and then I'll just close this. So that should give us a thing called web page that contains all of this, and I didn't need to escape anything, which is, yeah, we even increased the buffer to be 600. It was originally 400, but yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it wasn't big enough, but I don't need any of this stuff anyways, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. And we'll put in web page here instead. We'll upload it and see how we get on. Not in the string literals. String literal is going, hey, the rest of this is literally a string. I don't need you to escape anything until you hit this point. Or at least that is the theory. And I'm pretty sure it is. I've used it a few times. It's not bad, is it? Huh? So, invalid client. How is it an invalid client? Maybe I'm using the wrong thing. So let me get back to, so the client ID, when you register your application, Spotify provides you a client ID. Yes. That is what I did. Sorry, that's way too small for you to read. That's what I did. That's weird. I'm doing like Control Plus on one web page and it's zooming out, zooming in the other one. That's weird. Like that's the client ID of my app that I created. It seems to won't show the secret, so I'll trust that it won't. Number of users per country. Who's been using my thing? So there's the client ID, right? That's what I need to use. Let's drag it back out of here. Client ID. Like, oh, that's weird. It gained some characters from somewhere. Odd. Okay. This is where you need to set the scope. Okay. But I just want to get that part working first, and then I'll figure out what scopes I need. So the scope, you see it's here. Mind the space. I should have used Postman. I can't really use Postman because I need a web server too. You've got a space preceding the client. Thank you. I can't really use well, I can use Postman, but I think Mark is about 5 questions away from knowing Aaron Knox's social security number by the looks of things. I use the string name, or is there foo any code any char? Oh, do I? Okay. Yes, that might make sense. Edit settings. You're right. I actually already have it set up to be the URL that I'm, which is weird. I already have it set up to be the URL that I'm using, which is interesting. But good to know. I'll have to remember that for the setup for people. Where are we? We're going back here. We go back to our esp.local, like Spotify auth invalid redirect URI. It's a jumbled mess. like, is that, like, what does that resolve as? URL decode. That, oh, I don't want it to be S, do I? But, like, it looks valid other than that. ESP8266.local, like, isn't that should... If I leave that up for a second, ESP... Like, if, sorry, let's grab this. No, I'm after... It has a S in it, HTTPS, which I don't... Yeah, I think I need to get rid of that S. Oh, it's not HTTP. Is it? Yeah, it is. So, like, it seems to be valid other than the S. Invalid redirect URI. Well, maybe I don't have an S in this. Yeah, okay, so that's the problem. It doesn't match my redirect URI because of the S. So I'll get rid of the S. Hit save, upload, and we'll see what happens. I don't think he does a programmer. He does a housing for the SAMD chips. What's he call it? The SAMD Mangler or something? So, like, it's a 3D printed enclosure to be a socket for it. Okay, so let's refresh that. Yeah, okay. Still an invalid. Oh, it seems to be working apart from the missing HTTPS, so now it needs to respond on that. So it's still saying invalid redirect URI. Maybe a redirect URI. The URI needs to have been entered in the redirect URI whitelist that you specified when you register your application. Must exactly match one of the values you entered when registering, including upper or lower casing, terminating slashes, and such. Okay, I have a terminating slash, and I have a feeling that I probably don't in this. Yes, I don't. So let's add my terminating slash. Alright, this is good stuff. Mainly because this is stuff that people will definitely run into. No, it doesn't need to be publicly routable. What should happen is I will get put onto Spotify's server, and then they'll return a client key. They'll basically make that web page go somewhere else. But it will all happen on the user's JavaScript side. Right, so I've got a slash at the end now. Aha! Okay, we're shucking diesel. I can't show you the code part that'll come back though. Right? But let me rest assure you that I just showed you my code. Damn it! Why did you open up over there? I hope you weren't really fast. I'll just request another one and it should invalidate that one, right? Let's see, is it different? Yeah, it's different. Okay, so cool. I got this back. So we're good. We have the first part of it. So I guess you'd probably build a nicer web page. Look, why don't we just do that part of it now? It's hard to know where to put this. I guess it'd be in examples or something, but it's like, it's weird. It's not really an example. It's like a tool or something. I don't know. Hard to know. But like this, we need this code probably only once. And yeah. I guess we should just make it nice now, though. Because we'll never make it nice any other time. I guess it's probably an example. What do I do? Get auth code? Get auth code would probably do it, right? Expect your playlist to be filled with Rick Ashley. Some APIs do a head request to ensure the return is valid. This one doesn't, so that's good. We cannot use the code. Yeah, you don't have the client secret, so that should be fine. Yeah, so the client secret, I need to be really careful with that one. Okay, so let's start making an example for this. Like, I suppose it has to go into an example, right? Where else would it go? It's after taking over my wow, I'm after going really orange now that the screen isn't lighting me up anymore. A little bit better. Man, I really turned orange. Okay, so we have some examples here. Get currently playing and player controls. So what are we going to call this one? Get auth token. That's our working name. It's under the wrong level. Yes. New file. Get auth token.ino. Probably just copy what's in this for the moment and put it in here. So this will connect. Get auth token from Spotify to be used. I don't know. Get auth token from Spotify. This is needed for the other examples. Grand. So this will So instructions will be open web. So after flashing, put in your Wi-Fi details and client ID. That's too bright. Client ID and flash to the board. Open browser to ESP. ESP8266.local. Click the link. Code will be printed to screen. Use. So what are we calling this code? Hello, Sion. How's it going? Yes, it's a lovely suntan. What are we calling this code? Because Spotify call it code, but do we need a better name? Like auth code? Like, so it's not the bearer token. I think auth code would probably be fine. It's just that at some stage they're going to get this back, and I'm going to need to say authorization code flow example. But this isn't really an example. They need to use this as a tool. Yeah, I think auth token, yeah, the authorization code. Authorization code will be printed to screen. Use this in for auth code in other examples. Right. I don't know. That'll do for now. Story of my life. Okay, so we'll be bringing in this. Don't need. What's going on here? I'm blinding people with this big white. The shiz. So I'm just wondering what examples I need to bring in. Apparently these are what are in the web server example. Don't need anything else. We'll need to replace the following. So this is where we will need to shine. And we'll also need client ID. Blah, blah, blah. Client ID of your Spotify app. We don't need this stuff. Okay, we can start copying things from over here now. Our web page will need to have placeholders in it, but we can probably use the string literal. Right, like we can do percentage %s here. The scope thing, we might need to pass the scope in as well. So maybe we'll percentage S. I guess we could percentage S the URI as well. I don't really care, like isn't... Yeah, I should probably percentage S the URI. I should probably not have it be ESP8266.local either. I should probably make it like Arduino Spotify.local, because then it wouldn't need to change if you're running it on an ESP32 or whatever. Yeah, maybe I'll just change that now. I'll call it Arduino Spotify. Ardspot. You know what? Let's just call it Arduino.local. Oh, people will hate me for that. I'll just do Spotify.local might be reserved. Spotify. Arduino Spotify. That'll be fine. No, do you know what? Let people hate me. It's Arduino.local. Bring on the hate. And we'll do the scope as a percentage S as well. And we will do the scope as something up here. Did I spell scope wrong? Nope. Where is my auth server? User read percentage S email. So we'll probably change this at some stage, but this will do it now. Yeah, look. Okay, so that's all fine. In our setup, we don't want to do anything with an LED pin. We connect to the Wi-Fi, get the IP address. We might need that later, but let's not worry about it for now. We need to handle root. And then we also need to, I guess we'll properly handle the callback. Make one called handle callback. And I guess we'll have on not found. And we also need to set up our MDNS thing. Except we aren't going to call it ESP anymore. We're going to just call it Arduino. Cats fighting sounds so weird. Like, didn't put a semicolon. Where did I not do that? Two places I didn't put a semicolon. Thank you for that, Terentius. Much appreciated. I think you'll just have to go out and assert your authority, Mark. Just shout at them or something. Okay, so we've a handle root and a handle callback and a handle not found, all of which we need to include. So this is basically what we need to do for handle root, which isn't a whole lot. Except we need to fill in our percentage S's. Oops, I should be copying all of this. Okay, so we're gonna need a big buffer. Sorry, I took away my examples now. Where was that? That was in Spotify. That's CPP. How does this work? Shouldn't I have a buffer here? Okay, whatever. Yes, okay, so I want a char command. Probably pretty big char command. Char web page. I think we call this template or something. Char web page. I don't know, 500. It mightn't be big enough. Let's make it 800. Is equal to web page template. No, I don't need to let that equal there. Right, and then I can do my sprintf. Did I spell sprintf right? What is my... What is... That's a sprintf is your... That's your target, right? And then... that's your target, your source, and then the device ID, I'm pretty sure. So let's see if that works out. Yeah. Okay. Back to this. So sprintf web page template. We have to pass in the client ID and then the scope. So that should, in theory, give us that stuff done. I really need to put in a linter or whatever on this so I can automatically format in Visual Studio Code. I don't think I have one, so alright, so that should get us out, and it allows people to change their client ID and scope, which should be fine if they want to. Right, so that's handle root done. Now we need to handle callback. So let's go to our Arduino. So bright. I'm going to copy the handle not found one, because that does some of the URI stuff. So it just does a plain message. Yeah, I'll just print the code for now. So I'm not going to do file not found, don't need any of that, but server arguments. So let's do just do a string. No, I'll do a char code equals, I don't know, how long is the code? Let's make it 200. This is probably redundant. We'll do it anyways. So we're stepping through the server arguments, and when we find serve if serve arg name 1 is equal code, then code is equal to server arg. Possibly. All right. Yes, so that's stepping through the arguments that come in as part of the URL, checking for the one that's called code, and then saving that argument in this variable code. And we're just going to print that straight to screen. In the future, I would consider like putting in a nicer, this is the thing you copy and paste in, but this will be fine for now. We'll leave handle not found exactly as it is. I'll add this handle callback is up here. And that should be that. We just need to add the server stuff in the loop. The URI whitelisting will be part of the setup of your app. Like, so when I logged into the Spotify developer portal, I created an app and I whitelisted. But I guess you're right that, you know, the user should whitelist Arduino.locals, whatever. Make sure to, I'll have that as part of the instructions in the README. Whitelist http arduino.local/callback/. Hello, Crocoduck. How's it going? Yeah, I suppose it could be not hard-coded. Char callback. Callback URI. So that would then become a %s. That gets called here. I think I'm just moving it closer to my face, maybe? I don't know. Alright, so that will let people change it. Make sure to whitelist. Yeah, we'll worry about that some other time. Yeah, I guess they can, because I whitelisted the same thing as that other example from Daniel Eichhorn. So should be fine. Okay, so this should be the same as I had before. So I'm just gonna take this rather than like pulling in the example, and just make a new sketch. What did we think about the client ID? That probably wasn't Yeah, there's no big deal you see in my client ID, right? So let's put in the correct client ID. My guest Wi-Fi password. Hint, 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 hint. That should be all we need. Spotify auth. So that should upload now. Sometimes on my keyboard I have to look down. Okay, so can't incompatible types, const string and const char. Okay, so this is an Arduino string. I guess I could just make it a string, right? Nobody'd have to know. Don't tell anybody. We will use the inefficient string for this app that needs to run for 1 minute. Yeah, so sometimes, like when I'm looking at the screen, I don't really care about the microphone, but sometimes I misplace my hands on the keyboard, and that is where the fun starts, right? So while that's compiling, I'll go fix those issues in here. What was the other one I fixed? Oh, this one. Nobody will know anyways. Like, nobody like pushed a PR that was like, here, I'm getting rid of strings for you on this. You know, it's in like 99% of users just want to use the library. They don't care what happens behind the scenes. I guess I should probably print the serial monitor, like open up this web page or whatever, but should be Arduino.local now. Although this isn't going to work because of the whitelisting. I can whitelist more than one though, so let's do that. HTTP Arduino.local /callback. Okay. Arduino.local is now added. Will this resolve? Ooh. Why is it going to www? I didn't put that in, did I? Nope. Arduino. Ah, you idiot, Brian. I'm not serving anything. Negative points to Brian for not actually running the web server. Well, I copy and paste program a lot too, including off myself. So I'm not sure where that leaves me in terms of being a copy and paste programmer. Like look, I understand it, right? Like, I use libraries and stuff that I don't know what they do. I just like, oh, thank you for doing this for me. Spotify. Oh, it's Invalid Client. HTTP. Arduino. Local. What's going on here? Callback. Scope is X. Okay. Something has gone horribly wrong. So the client ID looks okay. Response type is fine. Redirect URI. Missing /. Hey Dave, it is going in my haul in a box unopened because we're still finalizing moving, and I haven't opened it yet. And I also want to like record opening it and stuff to make a video about it. So it is sitting in the box. Okay, I've done something wrong here. I've had to, right? Because it's Arduino. Like, what is going on here? I've got great hopes for it, though. So what did I do wrong? So I have a percentage... Oh, percentage %S callback. That doesn't look great. That looks better. Is it big enough? That's surely big enough, right? 800? 800's a lot of characters. Would you be tempted in getting one yourself, Dave? We, did you get one, Aaron? So, like, Aldi in Ireland don't have an online service, so you have to go, like, to get the specials in store. And, like, so we had reserved an electric lawnmower, or a cordless lawnmower, because our front garden is quite small and it's quite far away from the back garden, so I didn't think it was worth like setting up the boundary for the robot. Maybe we will down the road, but yeah, so we got a cordless lawnmower, and that would also be useful for parts where it just doesn't make sense to put the robot around, like maybe say like the kids play area, like has slides and stuff, so it might be hard for the robot to get in and around it or whatever. But we had reserved this Works one in Argos, and then we saw that they were coming into Aldi, and we're like, oh geez, these Aldi ones are really cheap. And then we're like, oh, it'd be like a zoo on Thursday. Yeah, we were kind of we were on the fence about either getting a ride-on or the robot. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how big it is. I don't know what an acre is. Is it like half an acre? 900 square meters basically is our back lawn. And yeah, it was a toss-up between the robot and the ride-on, and we're just like, look, let's give the robot a go. Like, worst case scenario, it's an interesting video, and best case scenario, we don't have to mow the lawn, which I'm all down for, because I'm sure you know yourself, like, even with the ride-on, right, you know, as in, you still, like, the ride-on benefits from having decent weather and stuff. So, like, you're mowing the lawn at some stage when, like, the weather, you have time off, you know, you're free, and the weather is still nice. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I still find a ride-on fun anytime I use it, but I would prefer to not do anything. Like, some people enjoy mowing the grass, and all power to them, but I would prefer to go for a walk than to mow the grass. Yay! Here's my code again for all of you to see. Let's just take that off screen again and load a new one. Although, oh no, it went to a file not found one though, rather than the callback one. Or did I do that wrong? No, it's gone to the file not found one, not the callback one. So what did I do wrong there? Could be the trailing slash, maybe? Yeah, it's the trailing slash. Spotify auth. Let's just do that now. We have new code. I think that's the problem. So let's just upload that again. Go through the same flow. Yeah, I just prefer to go for a walk or something. We found as well, so like the robot lawnmower I bought was €830 delivered, and like the cheapest ride-on we saw was like €2,000. So if it does work, it would be quite cheap compared to it. So it's like half the price. Like, so my wife mowed the lawn today. Yesterday, my wife mowed the lawn, and it took like 2.5 hours with the push one. So now it was relatively long, but yeah. Oh, look, we'll see. I definitely wouldn't pretend to be like, oh, this is the best way and you should definitely do this, because I don't have a clue. I'll find out. It could be a pain in the arse to install this, and who knows. An autonomous ride-on lawnmower. No, thank you. Where am I here? So we can go to... Oh yeah, I brought it over to this side. Spotify that out. Okay. So it just brought me straight there, which is funny. It's not even asking me for, like, to log in. Or, you know, do I agree? But I guess I've already agreed to those terms for this app. So maybe it doesn't care. Okay, so that's that. Boundary. Yes, I'm not looking forward. I'm looking forward to having it installed. I am not looking forward to installing it. For sure. What else did I fix there? I fixed that. I fixed this. Callback should have a slash. I think that was the last of what I fixed. String for here. No, this is bad as well. %s, callback, scope. Okay. All good, I think. Yeah. I also am a little bit hay fevery as well. So grass does not bode well with me. Oh, you want the fire safe version? Oh, jeez. These customers, they just want everything. What's a bit of fire? Like coming into the winter months, maybe a little fire would be a good thing. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I guess they could be here next week. So I could have the IP2721 designs here. I forgot to order a stencil for them, so I have to do that by hand, which will be probably okay, but I think some of the resistors I used are like 0402. Oh, I won't have the PCBs will be here, but the parts won't be. So the USB-C head, so we probably can't build it. This isn't my client ID. That's just a random thing that I did. It's just, I literally went and that's what came out. Condom brand. Oops. I'm not very good at naming things. Like, for example, my first thing I ever made was the power blocker. I have one here. And I was like, haha, this would be so clever. Like, power blocker. I don't know if that's gonna load up right. Seeing as my name is... Ooh, I had it too high. Seeing as my name is Brian Locke, I could just take my first letter of my first name and, you know, Locke at the end, and it's block, right? And then, like, nobody knows how to pronounce my name. Why would they? Like, good night, Witter. Why would they? So everybody's just like, Power Blower? Like, even people I'm like pretty good friends with are like, oh, now I get it. It's like, yeah. They're the best names, ones that you have to explain to people over and over again. Okay, so that's good. Now, so I have my code back. So I guess if I did, like, I'm just conscious of the time. If I did Postman with the code, if I got the stuff back that way, that might be good. The power blower or blower, yeah, I don't even know how to spell it. So that's the get auth token. So I guess the Spotify, it either takes a bearer token. It shouldn't really take a bearer token. It should take the client. It should take the client ID and the secret. Uh-oh. Night John, take it easy. And Night Rotor. Aaron Cook Knox. I presume it's Aaron Knox. Yeah, so the bearer token is probably not going to be passed in like this. We'll have to pass in the auth code, the client ID, and the client secret. And then we would probably make a refresh token endpoint. Right, so char star, we need the auth token, char star client ID, and then we need char star client secret. And I guess we probably need all of these down here. Okay, so that is that. Shouldn't be there. That should be. Do you know what some of it is as well, Aaron? It's if I sit forward, I can see the keyboard perfectly fine. But if I'm lazy and I'm back here, the mic is completely blocking what I can see. Okay, so that gives us that. Now we'll need to make a new one. I think... would you get it to return a boolean or an int, a refresh token? Like, I was thinking maybe it would return when it expires. Would that make sense? So like it comes back and... oh, well, I need the access token. But like, the user doesn't really need the access token. Yeah, I think maybe the expires in makes sense, right? I guess I could just not return, just return true or false. Like if I get a, well, I have to parse it out anyways because I need the refresh token or the access token. So what's the refresh token do? A token that can be sent to Spotify account service in place of an authorization token when the access code expires and the post request to accounts. But use this code in place. A new refresh token might be... that I'm confused about. So I don't make the same request again. Can I just make the same request again? Do I need to use the refresh token? Send a post request to account service API token endpoint, but use this code in place of the authorization code. Yeah, I don't know. Can I just use... I must be able to use just the authorization code again. Like, why wouldn't I do that? I guess I wouldn't be sharing the secret a second time. But, I don't know. I have to share the secret at some stage. Okay, so I'm going to make it return bool for now. I'll do refresh auth token. No, refresh bearer token. I'll do refresh auth. which will return nothing. Alright, so we're gonna have like a post request that is like mostly the same stuff as before. Usually good, use the auth code one time, then the refresh one thereafter. Sometimes the auth code is only valid once. It seems to me that the refresh one is only to be used to get yourself a new auth one. But I could be wrong in that. So the token that can be sent in place of the authorization code. But the authorization code, Gavin, is like, it's based on something that never changes. Like the client ID and secret, like they're don't change. Yeah. So I can put it as a header parameter and do base 64 encode on it, or I cannot and do it as a post body. So that makes the most sense for me, because then I don't need to base 64 encode it on the Arduino, which probably isn't a big deal, but yeah. I suppose I could keep the bearer token one, right? That if somebody wants to test it the way it currently was, that it will continue to work. Alright, so I need so auth token. Do I need to do underscore? I'll do underscores. No, the auth token is... Okay, so the auth token is the one I got. But the refresh token can be used instead of the authorization code, right? Which is this one. Oh, sorry. So an authorization code can be exchanged for an access token. All right, so that's the code I got. All right. So when I get my refresh token back, I would I guess I would replace the code the user gave me. So what happens on startup? Like, I thought we could get to a stage where the user would just run this authentication thing first, and then so they'd run the authentication thing and they'd get their code back, this thing, and then that code could be used going forward, right? Okay, but now I understand. So I'll have to use Flash, right? So my first thing would put the code into, so rather than displaying it on the web page, it would store the code into some place in Flash. And then the next example, like when you refresh the token, you would update the Flash. It's an hour. Well, we don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long that lasts, but it's saying it can be used in place. Does it have to? That can be sent when the access code expires. That can be used. Does that mean, like, it has to be used? Like, can I just keep using the same one over and over again? It looks like I might have to write to Flash. I'm probably going to finish up soon because I'm tired, but let's look at Mr. Squick's. Not this one, but it brings me to the right place at least. Nothing was said, it just was there. Is it under ESP8266 projects? It was its own repo, right? I suppose I could just search for Spotify. Probably make the most sense. Oh, maybe it's under his Ting Pulse one thing. Yeah. Ting Pulse. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so what did I do? Spotify remote. It's probably in the client. So here is their update. So this is their auth. They're taking Spotify auth. They're using auth dash access token. Alright, so they have a Spotify auth object. Get redirect URLs and stuff. Access token. Execute callback. I don't understand what's going on here. Okay, no, that's their access token. That's not where they renew their access token. Get token. Right, so they do a Wi-Fi client secure. Code param. They're doing a refresh token, base64 encode, authorization raw. So it's no big deal to base64 encode it. Grant type, code param, redirect. Alright, so that's all fine. It does retries, blah 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 blah. So that's the config portal. Wi-Fi is connected. That's weird. Oh no, that's his JSON parser. I'm still a bit confused to what's going on here. Okay, so he's writing to spiffs, but that's downloading files. Does he have an authorization thing? Maybe that's in the client.h. Okay, so Spotify authorization token is the access token, token type expires in refresh token, and the scope. So update seems to be like where he gets the changes. Is player active? Okay. This data is player active equals true. Okay. Then he's got player commands, that's all fine. So I really need to just look at the tokens now. So retry counter if client is available. I don't know what happens after this. So this is where he should get his token back. But I don't see where it happens. What's this execute callback? It's kind of nothing. So he sends that off request, prints it to the serial monitor, prints it to the client. If the client is not available, it retries. Client connected, client available. His body is true, and then he parses it. Parser to parse. Okay, so yeah, then his parser is going to save the stuff in different places. So if the current key is refresh token, he does his refresh token stuff, access token. Auth expires in value to int. Okay, so let's look at the INO. What does he pass into the Spotify library to begin with? Or so he's got a void save refresh token. Okay, so he's passing save refresh token in. So he saves it to spiffs. Almost guaranteed. I'll probably have to do the same. I've done similar to this in the past where like you're passing in a reference to a function into the library. So the same way I want to keep like the library code as like device agnostic as possible. Like I don't know if the device that's going to run this has spiffs or has EEPROM or has whatever. So if I kind of like pass in a reference to a method like that saves the refresh token, it can be up to the user to decide how a refresh token should be saved or where they should put it. Like maybe they'll write it to an SD card or something. So yeah, so that's what he's doing somewhere. He does his spiffs begin, and then he probably loads his refresh token. No refresh token found, so request one through the browser. Okay. Okay, so I guess I would does that mean I need to run a web server? I guess I could only start it if there was none found. Yeah, like that's another thing, right? If I had wrote the library and I was using spiffs, I would now have to update my library for little fs. But if my library is independent of spiffs, yeah, could have a web browser as a controller for it. I could also just go to Spotify.com and do the same thing, though, right? I'm just like I'm just wondering about this thing. So, like, the only scenario he does this authentication required, go to the browser and click in this thing, is if he can't find a refresh token in his spiffs. So I wonder when the refresh token expires, or is it always okay? Like if it was valid at one stage, is it still valid like 2 months from now? Because he'll have a problem that if it does expire, like it will load a refresh token, so it won't get into this code anymore. So it's just going to use the refresh token found on that. And if the refresh token is not equal to 0, he saves the refresh token. So I guess it doesn't expire. Alright, so it's fine. So it's even a little bit simpler. Well, it's not simpler. We'll have to bring in our example little fs. So on the one that we were just working on today, this get auth token one, instead of printing it to the web page, or we can print it to the web page, we'll save it to little fs, to like whatever Spotify auth token .json or whatever, wherever it goes, and we'll like save it to that location, and then inside our example apps we'll check does that exist, and if it does exist we'll use it and allow the user, or like we'll overwrite it every time we get a new one, And then if it doesn't exist, we'll just print a message to say run the get auth token example first. Or make sure you have spiffs enabled and then run, or whatever it's called, little fs. I'll add you as a moderator, Aaron, because I can't see links that you send without it. So there you go. Should be little blue wrenched up. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. We'll have to look into little fs because I haven't actually done anything. I've used spiffs before, but I've never used little fs. Yeah, you should be good to link now, Aaron, or you can link in Discord if you want either. But yeah, that should be okay. That'll be fine, and we'll just, every time we get a new refresh token back, we'll overwrite the one in little fs or spiffs. I thought spiffs was the actual flash storage type. I didn't realize it was SPI file system, I guess. Spiffs. I don't know. The suspense is killing me, Aaron. Are you putting in that link? Or at least I don't see it on my studio one. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I would be surprised if next week we weren't back to the Flexi friend, but we will come back to this pretty soon. I wonder, am I in a state? You did. Can you do it again now that you're a moderator? Because I don't see it, although I can open up. I'm probably gonna. Yeah, I don't see a link. Now I see a link. Access tokens expire after an hour. Refresh an access token. Yeah. The refresh token is valid forever or until it's been manually revoked. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so did I break anything? I'm just wondering if I should check in. Well, this is not going to work. I should probably check in on a new branch or something. That would be the right way to do it. Auth token. Checking in completely untested code. Always recommended. Right. Okay, yeah, I'll check that in. I'm going to put it on a new branch, which is like the auth branch or something, and we'll see how it goes. I would be surprised if we're not working on something Flexi friend related next week. But then again, yeah, I guess if we get that evaluation board, we can evaluate that it works, and then we can start designing the new PCB around that. And yeah, I would doubt I'll have the Fire Flexi friend parts here next week. I'll probably have the PCB, but not the parts. So I'd have nearly all the parts, although I don't think I have the right resistors. So I don't have all the parts. So yeah, that's it. I think. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Big thanks to Aaron for that incredibly generous donation. Really appreciate it. And yeah, Sorry for the late announcement about when we were streaming. I hope that things will start kind of smoothing out here. Now that we should be by next Monday, I shouldn't have the rented house anymore, so there is no way I can be busy with that. Although I have a million things to do here, so I'm sure my life will not get any less chaotic anytime soon. But it's all good. Right, thank you everybody for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.